I wanted to do something a little special for my 100th video. And I decided that I'm going to share with you guys my 7 favorite games from my favorite genre of all time, the RPG genre. Now, why 7 and not 10? It's for a very simple reason, actually. 3 of the games in my top 10 list that I had made, I can't record due to the equipment that I have, which is just using the PS4 capture on it. So, for that reason, it's only going to be 7, but I will tell you where these games would have originally fallen in the honorable mentions.
Number 7.
Stardew Valley is a game that I love to play whenever I feel like life isn't going anywhere, or life is getting too rough, or too depressing. Whenever I turn on Stardew Valley, I always feel like that the rest of the world isn't there, and that I can go on and live a separate life away from all the stress and anxiety and just relax for a while. And it can feel extremely rewarding to play this game too, mainly because of all the choices that you have in it, such as if you want to be a farmer or not. Will you be a miner? Will you be a fisherman? Will you be an adventurer? And if you want to be a farmer, what do you want your farm to be? An animal farm, a potato farm, a fruit farm, a vegetable farm? Do you want to be even a winery? Are you going to rebuild the community center, or are you going to turn it into a warehouse? What friends are you going to make? Who are you going to marry if you choose someone? And all those choices can feel rewarding on various different levels. I think my only complaint with this game is that I wish there were some more choices to what I could become to sustain myself. I wish there were a few more NPCs that I could talk to in the game to maybe flush out Stardew Valley a bit more, because in certain areas it feels like there should be more over there than anything else. I wish there was a town that I could go to in order to get different supplies that I couldn't get at Pierre's shop. Or maybe just get some more furniture for the game, upgrade my house and decorate it. I wish there was more choice to this game, basically, than anything else. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing when I already love all the choices in this game.
Number 6.
Nier Automata is a very fun game to play, whether it be because of its hack-and-slash combat mechanics or its RPG's chip system mechanics, which, by the way, can turn to be into one of two things. One, a very, very hefty tank that can tank most things and one-shot things, or a very, very light, fragile, but extremely fast 2B that can go at the speed of sound.
Double.
We can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Pushing on through until the battle's won. No one's gonna give nothing to us. Into each other we put our trust. Standing united after the fight.
One of the things that I love about Nier Automata is that it has so many different endings. There is about one ending for every letter in the alphabet. Now then, A through E are all tied to the story. A and B only get you about either a quarter or halfway through the game, depending on your perspective. But endings C and D are actually endings that you can get for the game, and ending E is what I'm going to call the true ending. In order to get this, you have to get endings A, B, C, and D in order to get ending E, and complete the task for ending E. But anyway, there are a bunch of other endings you can get that are quite funny. There's one if you eat a fish. There's one if you disobey orders. There's one if you go on a murder spree. But, however, those endings are all fine and dandy to get. The main juicy part of this game, though, is, again, the combat. It feels refreshingly like Dynasty Warriors, yet not like Dynasty Warriors at the same time. I wish that you could have, maybe as you leveled up, upgrade different combo chains that you could have opened up with different kinds of attacks and such. But it is what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna go kill some things. Never mind.
Number 5.
There are many things that I love Valkyria Chronicles for. And one of those many things is its story. In my opinion, it's a very, very good story with a lot of ups and many, many downs and sad moments. And what adds to that story are some of the side missions that you can go on in order to explore a character a bit more. I think the character story that I find to be the most heart-wrenching is Rosie's side story. If you get a chance, play it. It's really good, really heart-wrenching, and it'll just give you all of the feels. But, along with that, I also love it for its RPG mechanic of a whole entire class levels up, not a single individual unit. It makes it a lot easier when it comes to the grind game of, alright, do I have all of this maxed out? And such. Because you don't have to go through every single unit and go like, alright, are you maxed out? Are you maxed out? Are you maxed out? No. All you have to do is look at a class and see if that class is at its maximum level. If it's not at its maximum level, you just have to go back to the grind game for a little bit more and level that class up. Then there's the gameplay of the game. For one, you don't take control of just like little chess pieces like you do in Fire Emblem or any other strategy game. What you do is you actually just select a character and you move around as that character as if you were in a third-person shooter. You have so many action points to spend while you're walking, and then you can aim and shoot at an enemy. So I feel as if this makes Valkyria Chronicles stands out a lot more than more other strategy games out there. And then there's the characters. I mean, they're all unique in their own different ways. And one of the reasons that they are unique is that they each have character-specific skills, such as Lone Wolf, whereas a character will be a lot stronger on their own than they would be if there was a partner nearby. Then there's a character that will actually be sick from pollen, from dust, from metal, or characters who hate other characters in this game. It really does add to just how good this game is.
Number 4.
Dark Souls 3 is one of my favorite games from the Soulsborne series. Though, to be fair, I only played 2 of these games, and you know what? That's completely fair if you're going to say that maybe Bloodborne's a bit better, but hey, this is my list, this is my thing to say which of the 2 I like better, and I'm going to say Dark Souls 3. For only just one major reason, and it might get you mad. But I like it a bit more just mainly because of the setting. I'm a big sucker for medieval-ish kind of settings in video games. Whether it be in a simple, silly, action-adventure game, or whether it be an extremely hard game that I suddenly forgot the name of. I don't know. Can you guys point it out to me? The music in this game is quite unique to me in a way of how it's used. It's not used in the typical sense of the music's just there as a background setting for you while you fight the boss, go beat it. No, the music's actually used to help you indicate when a boss is going to strike, when it's going to do a certain attack, and when it's going to do certain things. I think the only one that I really have problems with when it comes to this music is the dancer, mainly because her thing from the video that I saw from the game theorist over here is just a little bit offbeat, and honestly, the more I think about it, the more off-putting that is. It just puts things out of rhythm, and she's possibly one of the harder bosses in the game for me to try to even get over alone. And then there's the fact that if you need help, there's always a buddy or a friend you can call on to help you with your adventure in this game. I happen to have a buddy who helped me with an adventure in this game, and you know what? In no way did he ever backstab me in this game and lead me down a path that was absolutely terrifying. Nope, no way he ever did that. Nope, I can't think of a single time he did that.
Number 3.
Digimon is a series that I will hold near and dear to my heart for a lot of different reasons. One of those reasons being the original anime. And fight me on this, but the original anime is better than the Pokemon anime. Fight me! But one of the reasons that I love Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, A Hacker's Memory, FYI, I will be referring to it as Hacker's Memory for the rest of this video, because that is too long of a name for me to say. Where to start? First off, there's the 3-on-3 battling, just battles, most of the time. Sometimes there will be hordes of Digimon that you'll have to fight in groups of like 4 or 5, but for the majority of the time, you'll have 3 slots open on your side for 3 different Digimon of your choosing and picking. And this just pulls my Digimon World 2 nostalgia strings just a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. If you haven't heard about that video game, just go watch this video. Please, I'm begging you, go watch it. It's one of my favorites. Go watch it. But anyway, another thing that I love about it is how much the capturing system has improved. No longer do you have to shoot toy planes at Digimons for hours and hours and hours on end and just keep trying over and over again to get the Digimon that you want. Now all you have to do is just get into a battle, and instead of capturing them, you instead scan a certain amount of their data, and once you have 100%, you can essentially just go to the Digilab and get that Digimon for yourself. Sure, the game still has you go back to a separate lab to Digivolve. I can forget that because there are points throughout the map where you can just go like, oh, hey, there's a nice place here. I can take a break and go to the lab for a little bit. Ooh, I can just come back to this place after I get back from the lab. There's no, oh no, I have to exit this whole entire dungeon just to get to the lab. All I have to do is just look for a checkpoint where this thing is and go to a lab. There's also the fact that there are more quests for you to do in this game than just, oh hey, I'm gonna go beat up this guy real quick and be right back and go back to the quest board and be like, alright, it's done. No, there's no longer just that. There's now a little kind of mini-game / battle game you can do with the opponent as well when you get certain quests. This quest will usually have you take a team member or two with you, depending on the quest. There's a capture the flag kind of game where you have to capture enough of these flags in order to change the status of the field, and the status of the field will affect your opponent negatively if you have them all, but it will affect you negatively if your opponent has them all. Then there's this kind of square-ish, boxes-looking minigame-ish kind of thing, where you have to stand on certain square tiles in order to gain points, and your opponent stands on square tiles to gain points, go figure. But then, once you battle with someone, you can battle them for a square. And if you take that square over, you gain the points that are on those squares. Once you reach to a certain amount of points in a game, then you essentially just win the game. Now then, for the story, I'm not going to go into too great detail of it. All I can say is that it's a nice story. It's a very good story. I feel like it doesn't do as good as what Cyber Sleuth did with its character development, but I feel it does something a bit better, and that is convey a theme of which Cyber Sleuth kind of dropped the ball a little bit on, but picked up more towards the end. Whereas in Hacker's Memory, there's more of the theme in there. That theme, I've noticed, is self-identity and who you are as a person. Are you really you? If that makes more sense. Just ask that question to yourself. Are you really you? Alright, I'm just going to stop talking before I go on just a trip.
Number 2!
Now then, what can I say about Final Fantasy VII that hasn't already been said out in this world? I mean, for one, I love the combat system a little bit. It can be a bit annoying when you don't react quick enough and an enemy takes your turn, but it also feels like that if you don't react quick enough, you kind of deserve it and may have had something installed in you thinking you have all the time in the world to respond when in fact, nope. If you don't respond quick enough, then the enemy gets to basically take a second turn to attack you in a row. Another thing, the chocobos are just so adorable. I love riding them. They are possibly my top 10 favorite fictional animals of all time. But they are also just joys of happiness, and the music that you get while you ride around on them is just, oh boy, And don't even get me started on the music of when you find one of these guys in a fight, because, again, it's a joy just to hear that music and to laugh your ass off, basically, at it, because of how ridiculous it is. And that's all I can basically say about this game without going into typical reviewer stuff for this game. I mean, seriously, what else do you expect? I don't know what else I can say about this game that hasn't already been repeated throughout many different YouTube videos. Before moving on to my number 1 entry, here are some entries that didn't make it for different reasons. Any of the Pokemon games. They didn't make it on here for 2 reasons. One, I cannot record them. That was a small factor in why I didn't pick any of the Pokemon games to put on this list. Another factor was I couldn't make up my mind on which game to put on here. I mean, there are so many of them that I could have put on this list for reasons that I would have legitimately loved to put them on here for. I think if I had to go with anyone, it would have been Black 2 and White 2, or Black and White, mainly because I loved the story of it. However, I do feel Sun and Moon's story is a bit better than them, just a bit more hand-holdy, if you know what I mean. But that's the main reason I didn't pick them, was I couldn't make up my mind on which game to put on the list. Digimon World 3 would have originally taken the number 2 spot on this list. Now then, there were a few deciding factors against me putting Digimon World 3 on the list. One, I didn't want duplicates of a series on the list. So no Digimon, no Pokemon. Otherwise the list would be just basically half Pokemon, half Digimon. Another deciding factor, it was a bit smaller, but it was the fact that I couldn't record Digimon World 3 and put something up there for you guys to see visually in order to relate to the game that I am talking about. That has been a little bit of a factor into my decisions for every single game that I picked for this list. There's one other reason, but we'll get to that in a second. Originally, when I made this list, it was a top 10 list, and at the top of that list was Persona 5. That already had something going against it, was the fact that I couldn't record it. Originally, I was like, alright, no big deal, I'll just put a few stale pictures up to show what I'm talking about. But then another thing came up, and that was the fact that I didn't want something on the list that was my first and only experience with his franchise. And because Persona 5 was my first and only experience of his franchise, I felt as if it would be a bit wrong of me to put it on my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time, because I not only haven't had enough time with this franchise, it's also my first experience with the franchise, and that actually leads to me loving a game more than I should. So for those reasons, I feel as if I shouldn't have put Persona 5 on this list, but I'm just letting you guys know there's a reason why it's not on this list. And just so you know, I do love the game. I even 100%ed it, but the thing is, I don't want to put anything on this list that is my first and only experience with its franchise.
Number 1.
Monster Hunter World is a fantastic game for many different reasons. One of its reasons is its character customization. I love how you can make any character in this game and they can feel like something that you can be proud of. Whether it be a better version of you that you want in the game, your OC that you've had in your head and just like to implant that OC into every single role-playing game that you could imagine, or the ultimate anime waifu. You know who you are. Then there's the weapons and armor for this game. Most of the armor actually looks pretty decent and would look amazing on almost any character that you can fit it on. Then there's also the weapons that you can have to match with it. Which, that's my only criticism for this game so far, is that some of its weapon variety, as design-wise, it needs some more variety instead of looking like it's mostly either bone or metal. But there are some weapons out there that really, really do stand out when you say, hey, that's actually a pretty neat weapon, I wonder what happens if I whack something with it. And let's not forget about the biggest thing in Monster Hunter World, its ecosystem. The fact that the game is now more open world than it used to be allows for a myriad of different things. For one, leading one monster from one zone to another zone more easily and less having to stay in that singular zone in order to battle it. Then there's the fact that there are the environmental traps that you can use in order to lead a monster to. Whether it be the rocks in the ancient forest that you can make them fall on any monster, or the environmental trap that actually requires a certain monster to be on the map in order for it to be used. I mean, I love this sand whirlpool. Sand dune? What is this? I don't get what that trap is. Oh, that's what it's called. That's interesting. Then there are the monsters of this game. Whether you're fighting them or watching them, they are amazing to look at. And let's not forget about their AI. It's actually pretty advanced, as far as I can tell. But the thing is about these monsters is when you load into a map, whether it be the Wild Spire Waste, the Ancient Forest, the Coral Highlands, the Elder's Recess, or the Rotten Vale, load into any map and there will be 3 monsters always present. And these 3 monsters, you can follow them around most of the time because some of them are quite peaceful and don't mind having a person follow them. Others, though, they'll get extremely irritated if you even look at them. Even the map has a bit of detail on it. If you have a certain monster marked on the map, then you can tell what its behavior is based on certain signs on the map. There's a sign for fatigue. There's a sign for, oh no, this monster is going to be dead soon. There's also a sign for when the monster is hungry. As you can see with this example of Diablos here. He's going to go numb on some cactuses, so I'm just going to leave him alone for a while. And don't get me started on the turf wars. They are amazing in their own right. I mean, these turf wars will either go on for a while and feel like they're a spectacle to watch, or they'll be over faster than you can snap. And those are just some of the few things that I love about Monster Hunter World without going into the tiniest of details. But those are some of my favorite RPGs of all time. Please let me know what your guys' are in the comments down below. Also, if we make it to 500 subscribers, I'll get better recording equipment and put more different kind of videos up here other than what you are currently seeing. If we make it to 1,000 subscribers, tell you what, I'll redo this list. And I will also have played another Persona game by then, probably. So, Persona 5 may be on this list. Maybe, may not be. Who knows? We'll find out. This is Ice, signing out.